So welcome to this Municipalities in Transition Community of Practice online session on inner transition. It's a real pleasure to have you with us. And today we have the real pleasure to have Laura Sedano and Nando García, both from Transition Spain and many different local initiatives. So Laura Sedano, she's a social psychologist, really connected on social permaculture. She's a group facilitation and mostly on inner work. And she's a member of Transition Spain, the Transition Spanish Hub. And she has worked in the educational area, designing, coordinating, and facilitating many different courses. And she has worked also in Latin America and in Spain. And she's really interested, she's really connected and working since many years on the inner transition area. Then we have Nando. And Nando, I'm looking for your information, Nando. Where is it? I thought it was here. Okay, so Nando, I mean, I know him very well, but I just try to go through the information that I have. So Nando defines himself as an experienced beginner. Interesting definition. And he's a former senior manager of the European Commission. She's part of Transition Spain too, and she's really involved in deep adaptation and environment, and also she's an environmental advisor of Serve the City. His journey into inner transition includes the facilitation of the work that Reconnects, and he has also participated a lot in retreats about rites of passage, personal exploration, etc. We wanted to host a workshop, even if it's online, even if it's not too long, on this topic, because even if the Municipalities in Transition project, when you read the word municipality, it seems something more official. At the end, what we talk about is about connecting with people. It's about interacting among people and creating spaces of deep collaboration. And for that to happen, the heart is really, really needed. So in this triad of head, heart, and hands, often, and more when we talk about policies and connecting with municipalities, is something that we don't work too much. If we take into account the current situation, also with COVID and climate crisis and so on, is more needed than ever. So let's please enjoy this session. Let's bring all we have, and let's be here together for the next hour and 15 minutes, more or less. So that's this short introduction. I pass it over to my friend Laura. So over to you.
Thanks very much, Juan, for all this introduction. Thank you very much as well to Municipalities in Transition for inviting us to share this workshop and this hour and a half together, exploring emotions and exploring our heart facing this crisis. And thank you very much to all of you, to all the faces that I can see in little squares in front of me now here in my small studio. And I feel very happy to be here sharing this time with you. And thanks for staying here on a random Thursday, sharing 1 hour and a half, exploring what's going on with our hearts. I think that it's important enough to celebrate just this. So thanks very, very much for being here. And well, I'm gonna tell you a little bit what is gonna be the flow of today. I'm gonna pass the floor in a while to Nando, who is gonna introduce a small exercise, an interaction exercise to introduce this workshop. And then later on, I will be telling you what is the work that reconnects. What is this? Is this a methodology? Is this an orientation, or is this a way to be a way to live life, maybe a bit of it all. And then after that, we will go into the spiral, and we will take a path through the spiral of You Are Amazing. And then I will pass the floor to Juan, who will be closing the workshop today. So just to let you know that this is a small tapa or a small appetizer of what the work that Reconnects is. Normally, these workshops or activities, they take a few days, like 2-3 weekends, or even 10 days, like the one that I was doing in Mexico. So it's a bit hard and very challenging to try to condense all this in 1.5 hours, but we will try our best. And we really invite you to connect and to be present during this time. So in real life, in face-to-face workshops, we will be probably on a cycle and maybe holding hands or not, but being able to see all of us on a circle. This is not possible today, but well, let's take a minute to have a look at the people that we have in front, and all of us that we have decided to share this moment, and bring the intention to open our heart and our emotions to share this time together. So that's it. And I pass you the floor, Nando, to tell us a bit more.
Thank you, Laura. And I'm also very, very happy to be here and to share with you a few insights. And as Laura was saying, we can only stress that this is a very superficial introduction, but we still want you to feel something, not only to gather some information about inner transition using the Work That Reconnects model, but we also want to reach your hearts, if that's possible, with this technology, and within 70 minutes that we are timing like Swiss guys that we are not. I'm going to start sharing the screen to go with the presentation. Everybody can see the slides. Can you show hands? Yeah, you see it as well? Okay, you see that the title is Exploring Our Personal Response to the Crisis with the help of the Work That Reconnects. And Juan already mentioned that, and you all know that we are in the middle of a systemic crisis, planetary, social, economical, political, you name it. And for that, as many authors say, I like very much Paul Chefulka, who's a Canadian author. You have two types of responses. You have the outer response, which is activism, which is in the to-do area. And you have the inner response, which is how you go inside you, which I would call the to-be area. And we very often have to-do lists, but what we propose is that we also start having to-be lists. And what we propose, as we said, is a 70-minute walk through this inner path. We will face some difficult emotions, and this is part of the exercise, so be ready for that. But at the end, we will come out of the inner path and we will go to the outer action, and that's the last part of the spiral. So thank you for being here, and let's start this journey with the first slide. And bear with me, we are using different technologies, and this might mess up, but we know that you'll be good with us. I mean, I'm a beginner anyway, so I have the right to fail. So let's start with this. Maybe you're aware of Joanna Macy, who is the root teacher of the Work That Reconnects. And she says that, a story, she talks about these three stories. A story is the lens through which we look at reality. And what we propose here is, rather than looking at the reality, looking at the lens, how we see reality. And each of us sees the current crisis through three possible lenses. Many people, probably too many people, see the crisis through the lens of the business as usual. There is no big issue. I mean, yes, there is COVID, there is a possibility of an economic crisis, etc., but in the past, we've gone through these things and we came out of those, you know, with creativity, with technology. So no big deal. We can continue, no need to change massively anything. Okay, so that's business as usual. And I will ask you to pronounce where you are there. There is a second way of looking at the reality, which is putting your attention on the disasters that are going on all over the place. And we will look into those, you know, disasters in the atmosphere, in the biosphere, in the lithosphere, in the cryosphere, etc. So you focus on that and you come to the conclusion that this is a big mess, even a predicament, as they say in English. A predicament is a situation with no simple solution, very wicked. And then there is this third lens to look at reality, which is to focus your attention on the emergence of a new response, a new type of response that humanity can give to the situation, to focus on life-enhancing society. You know, and surely the work that you're doing in Municipalities in Transition, that we are doing in the Transition Network, very much believes that there is this emerging kind of new humanity with a new paradigm. The point, and this is the sentence that I put at the bottom of the slide, is whether this great turning will happen. We will avoid collapse, and we will go from the industrial growth society directly to this great turning and this life-sustaining society, or whether we will have to go through collapse and come out of collapse and build this great turning. Okay, if this is clear, I'm going to ask you where you are using Mentimeter. So I'll be showing you this page. Laura has put on the chat a link, which is a place where you can vote and you can say which of these 3 stories you tell yourself more often, because we all are in these 3 stories, but we spend more time in one than on the other one. So some days you're very optimistic and you think that we are going to fix it. Some days you're very happy with your eco-village. Some days you think this is a mess and we will not get out of there. Where do you spend most of your time? What is the lens that you use most of the time to look at reality? And for those of you who find it difficult, who don't find the link, don't hesitate to use the chat. I mean, this is nice and you know, it looks very, very good, but messes up very frequently. So so I think we were, Luis, something like 22 people. So I was expecting that most of you managed to respond using this. And as you see, most of you, I'm not voting because it will not work probably. Most of you are in the great turning as it could be expected. 3 of you are in the unraveling, and I confess that I'm very much in the unraveling, but I'm not going to vote. And 2 of you are in the business as usual, which is good as well. I mean, spend most of the time in the business as usual. I'm sure that these 2 people, when they see a couple of pieces of news is in the newspaper, they think that it's not so easy to get out of this. So that's 20 votes, which is about right. We will not spend much more time here. This corresponds to what I thought that would happen here, because you are all involved in working for this great turning. So 16 people, a big majority is even bigger than Biden on Trump. A big majority on the great turning, 3 people on the unraveling and 2 people in the business as usual. And with this, I think we can move on to the next stage of the presentation. And I think I pass it on to Laura, isn't it?
Yes, that's it, Nando, thank you.
Yeah.
If we can go to that's good. Thanks very much. Well, so after seeing where we are as a group in different positions, which shows the diversity of this group, we're gonna go into the work that reconnects. That is something that Joanna Macy actually presents in that dimension of the great turning, right? So what is the work that reconnects? And before going to read together that quote, I would like to tell you that, well, it's a methodology that Joanna Macy developed in the 70s. and she was using it with different kind of groups. Some of them, they were maybe facing cultural crises or social crises in their communities, but she was working with lots of groups of activists, people that was born out, that was, well, actually it's very hard to be an activist these days. It's very overwhelming. It's very hard to escape to some feelings that, well, sometimes you feel better or you feel worse, but it's hard to escape to sometimes to feel really sad or empty or devastated. So this is the work that she proposed, and she has been working with this methodology for a long time. So what is the work that reconnects? The work that reconnects helps people discover and experience their innate connections with each other and with the self-healing powers of the web of life, transforming despair and overwhelm into inspired and collaborative action. Sounds pretty good, sounds like something that we all would like to do, isn't it? So, well, obviously, this is a process. And this is a deep one to go through. Myself, I have been going, just to talk about just a little bit about myself, I have been going through different steps in the last years of my life, in my path of activism. And I'm very grateful to this tool that for me was very, very handy. So let's explore this spiral. As you can see on the drawing at the left, there is 4 main steps. The first one is the gratitude. And as you can see, it's not the causality that is the root, because the gratitude is the root for it all. It's where everything starts. And it's that it changes our life or our way of living life. Gratitude is so powerful that even if the external conditions that we live are very hard, our gratitude is ours, and we can decide to enjoy a sunset or the beauty of a tree or the beauty of a walk in the forest. And this is our own decision, and we can make it every day and every second. And practice gratitude in our present, and being present can make us feel much more stronger and happier, which make us be much more ready to face the step number 2, that is honoring our pain. And this is something that looks pretty hard in the society we have, the most of us, we have been growing, right? When we always have to be strong, and it's not very good to show ourselves vulnerable and things like that, but we need to start having these relevant conversations. It's very hard to escape to a pain that we are living every day, especially if you turn on the TV. So many bad news, so many devastating realities. So it's time to try to open spaces to talk about this pain, because just facing it and experience it, we will be able to overcome it. And then after opening that space to sharing our pain, we go to this 3rd step, where, as you can see, the flowers start to bloom. And they start to bloom because seeing with new eyes is the space where we realize of our interconnections. And it's our interconnections with life. It's the moment when we realize that we are not just a human. We are as well a lion. We are as well a tree. And we are as well a river. And we can represent ourselves just watching the sea. But it's not just about life. It's about the connection that we have as well with our ancestors. And as well with the future generations, because their future depends on us so much. So it's a very powerful step, this one. And the last connection with ourselves, the true connection with ourselves, with what is our essence. with what is our gifts, what we can offer to the web of life, what we can offer to life. And the last step, this one that is going forth, that is the step where we digest all this path, and we decide, we make a conscious decision about what kind of commitments we want to get. And this is about what we decide to do. This is about what we decide to stop doing as well. But as Nando was saying at the beginning, this is not just about doing. This is about being who we want to be and what we decide to be. We will be exploring all this in a moment, but this can be a good resume of what is this spiral that we are going to explore. So after this content and ideas and definition of what is this of the word that reconnects, I start to invite you to shake the head of this workshop and to start to open the heart, because we are gonna go into this spiral, and we are gonna go into the first step, exploring gratitude. So after it all, after all the crises and the horrible realities that we have out there, and we have to face every day, a part of that, I cannot imagine a better moment to be alive than this one. I cannot find a better one. So let's try to take a moment to practice gratitude. And I'm gonna propose you a practice for this. I'm gonna ask you all to take a moment to sit in a comfortable position, wherever you are, sitting down or lying down. I can see that some of you are lying down. That's great as well. Take a comfortable position. Put your feet on the ground and take contact with it. Let's start to feel our bodies. If we need to stretch or whatever, let's feel comfortable. And I invite you, the ones that you want, to start closing your eyes and taking contact with our own breath. And I'm going to ask you that while you are doing this, try to bring to your mind and to your heart the memory of a magical place, the memory of a place that in your life made you feel very connected with natural world, very connected with life, with earth. And I propose you to do this while we are listening to the following music for a few minutes. Okay. So I'm going to ask you now to little by little opening your eyes and coming back to where we are in this online workshop. And I'm gonna ask you to share maybe using the chat. What is the place? What is that place that you have visited on your memories? What were those places that were making you feel very connected? And you can use the chat for doing that. And I will share with you that I was remembering full moon that I was watching from a boat very close to Formentera Island last summer. What a beautiful memory. So if you want to share, what is the place you have been visiting? Do it in the chat. Oh, we have Linda here saying that it was a rainbow gathering in Portugal. Cool, Linda, thanks for sharing. And I say it's a walking through the magical Roddy Mercuswell, sorry for my pronunciation, Roddy Mercus Pine Forest in Scotland. Cool, Paulo was return the coast on Scotland, swimming on the sea, several places, waterfalls, forest, integration in Portugal. Someone was in the Azores, forest, warrior walk in the forest, Famara Beach in Lanzarote, many different memories from different places, forest, coral reefs, swimming, mountains. Thanks. Thank you very much for Phil, the turtle. Cool. I'm gonna ask you, Nando, if we can take a moment to see our faces again, just to celebrate all those places that from different places in the world where we are at the moment, we're bringing to our memory as well, and celebrate the memory of those places. Lots of them, as we can see in natural world, and they are still very powerful to us. So take a moment to celebrate all these places that we have been weaving together, even in an online space as this one. So thanks very much for that. And I will give the floor now to Nando to be with us, exploring that pain part that we all need to face as well. Thank you, Nando. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Laura. Yeah, in the approach of the world that reconnects, we start with the stage of gratitude as a grounding, as a way to reconcile and find good vibes before we enter into the difficult work, which is crucial. It's crucial in the world that reconnects, and this is what I'm going to propose to you now. Wow. Okay. So we are going to look into honoring our pain. You know that the word that reconnects originally, when Joanna Macy started doing these workshops with activists who were very much in burnout, the name of the workshop was not the word that reconnect, it was despair and empowerment work. Frankly, the situation since the 70s has not improved massively and this is a bit of an understatement. I think we are in an extraordinary crisis. And in a way, I think we need to accept that feeling pain for the planet is normal and is even healthy. When I see people, and again, I will mention the Donalds, so insensitive to what is going on in the world. You know, I don't think that is very healthy. The healthy thing is to feel pain. Thich Nhat Hanh, which I follow, is the master of the plant village, Vietnamese Zen tradition, says that, well, and I'm quoting him, what we most need to do now is to hear within us the sounds of the earth crying. So we live in a culture which promotes avoidance, basically. It's a culture which focuses only on be positive, be optimistic. But what we propose is that we touch our pain. The idea is it will boost our love for this planet and our will, our determination to keep caring for it. So what I'm going to do, and this is difficult, but bear with me because this is part of the exercise. It's not too difficult either. I'm going to invite you to embrace your pain for the planet by looking at 6 pictures that I chose. And I would like to ask you to look at them with your heart. So let them soak your heart with emotions, if that is possible. That is the exercise. So let's go for the first one. I will make a short comment. So this is a picture showing that the ice is melting. And it's melting in the Arctic, it's melting in the Antarctic, it's melting in glaciers, it's melting all over the place in the Himalayas, and might leave without water 1 billion people. And maybe in the Arctic, we will have what is called a blue ocean event this decade. And this creates release of methane, sea levels rise, Gulf Stream. Stay with it. And of course, the ice is the habitat for, is the home for many species. Some of them are, all of them are very beautiful. All of them are very beautiful. But I mean, polar bears, what a magnificent animal. And here we see one who's starving, basically, and who is basically evicted from his home through starvation. And it's not only polar bears who are chased from their homes. Orangutans are also evicted because we need their forests in Indonesia to grow oil palm for our Nutella, of course, and our ice creams and all those things. Of course, it's only normal that we destroy their home and we plant those. You see this poor orangutan helpless fighting the bulldozer. Sorry for the quality of the picture. It comes from a video. When Juan introduced me, he forgot to say that I am a kind vegan. And therefore, as all vegans, I need to say that I'm a vegan because otherwise we blow up. What you see here is just born male chicks on their way to the grinder. You know the grinder? Those of you who smoke weed know what a grinder is. So these chicks have a very short life. They just came out of the egg. Somebody checked their sex, so they were males, and they are heading to a very cruel death. In Spain, 30 million male chicks are grinded every year. For industrial egg production. And if we stay with birds, plastic, and most of it's single-use plastic. There are hundreds of thousands of albatrosses, which is this beautiful bird with very long sails, who are dying with their bellies full of plastic, simply because they are attracted to the color and they think it's food. And once their belly is full, they die. And I'll show you the last one. And of course, it's not only animals and forests that are being suffering the crisis. According to the UN, by 2050, we will have 200 million climate refugees. And this is a very conservative estimate. There are other people who are talking about 1 billion. But 200 million, if you try to visualize that, those of you who live in Europe, is half of the population of the European Union that have to quit their houses, their villages, their towns, go on a very shaky boat, as in this case, and be very welcome in the rich world. So I'll like you to stay a bit more with this, accompanied by some music which is particularly fond to Joanna Macy. Okay, thank you. Thank you for bearing with me and with these horrible pictures. Fear, sadness, anger, emptiness. Yeah, you have an opportunity to share what is the predominant emotion with a few words, and you have other choices, of course. Those of you who can use Mentimeter, please use the link that Laura has shared in the chat. The rest can use the chat. We have vulnerability, helplessness, grief, anger, sadness, anger and sadness, helplessness. Anger, regret. Still and sad, overwhelmed, fear for the future, solutions. We'll have to wait for the fourth part of the workshop. Depressed, hopeless, tired. And I'm afraid that I have a problem with the screen and I cannot see the others. But that gives us a bit the flavor. I'm going to thank you very much for this exercise, and I'm going to do something which I like and maybe some of you also like. Please listen to this. Back to you, Laura.
Thank you. Thanks, Nando, for being with us while we were facing this difficult part. Have to say that never mind how many times I see these photos, I can tell that we have been getting ready for this workshop for during a few Zoom meetings, Nando and myself, and never mind how many times we see it, I always feel devastated for them. But well, we have to keep walking, right? And I would like to take a moment to just to hold this pain with no fear. And looking to this pain, to the eyes, and take a moment to see that there is more. There is more. There is some reverses behind the pain that we'll face, right? Because we can see that behind the sadness that we feel, we can see the full love that connects us to life. And behind the fear that we can feel, we can find the strength of taking it out of our breast, talk about it and share it. The other side of the anger is the real want of justice that we have. And behind the emptiness that we can feel as well is the biggest space that we leave for the new things to come, for the new ideas, for the new feelings, for the new perspectives, for the new ways that we all need to develop to be together facing all this situation and to find the empowerment and the strength to do it. And really feel my soul knowing that lots of us, or all of us, we are together in this situation. So thanks very much. Thank you very much for opening our hearts to see and to explore this pain. But we are not going to stay here. We have been touched and we are going to keep going to the next step that is very empowering, and is that one that we are going to learn how to see with new and with ancient eyes. And I'm going to give the floor again to Nando. Give us some light, please. Some new energies, please, Nando. Come on.
Yeah, okay, let's leave the pain behind and let's move on to something more enlivening, so to say. So I'll share the screen again and show a couple more slides. I don't know why it goes dead every time here. So we were here. So let's move on to seeing with new and ancient eyes. And let me start with something that I read. A person, I don't even know who she is, Anais Nain. Maybe some of you, if you know who she is, just share in the chat. But she said, we don't see the world as it is, we see it as we are. And I think it's a powerful sentence. And what we propose now for the next 10 minutes is a journey to explore other ways to look at our reality. So to expand our understanding of who we are here and now, who we humans are here and now in this planet. And let me start with something that, you will like because it's fun. So it's a bit of a contest, and I would like to tell me, what do you see here? And maybe write in the chat or open your mics, but with some order. What do you see? Do you see, other than forest, do you see anything? Is there any other way to look at this forest? Maybe open your mics, but just with the word.
Full of animals.
Such as?
Lion, elephant.
There's an orangutan.
Orangutan.
Yeah. What else?
The beauty of life. It's
sloth, yeah. Perezoso, we call it in Spanish. Sloth. So we have an elephant, we have an orangutan, we have a sloth. What else? Sorry, I missed some.
Wild cat.
Wild cat, yes. You mean the one in the middle, in the bottom middle?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Puma. How do you say it in English?
Puma, yeah.
Puma, yeah.
Or a panther, or yeah. Difficult.
Probably for the type of forest, more than a puma,
yeah. Do you see any more? I think I managed to see something like 7, but I spent some time looking at this. Well, you see on the left a lioness? Yeah, sorry, that's one.
On the very left.
On the very left? Yeah, it's a tiger or a lioness, huh? Yeah. Good. Well, there are a few others. Next to this panther on the right, a bit upper, there is a lion, but it's more difficult to see maybe. But I mean, it's a bit of a game, but the idea is that sometimes we see one reality because we are focusing on one thing. And when you focus on another thing, you see a completely different reality. And I'll show you 3 more pictures, which I think, or pictures or slides, which I think help us see differently. One is coming out of the woods. We are going to see our planet as it is with all this beauty. And then we are going to look at us humans from the past, and then we'll look at ourselves from the future. So please follow me in this journey. Of course, you know this one, eh? Probably the most famous pic in the history of photography. This is called Earthrise. It was taken in 1968 on the 24th of December, to be more precise, and it was taken by the crew of Apollo 8. And it's humanity's first grasp of the beauty, of the fragility, and of the loneliness of our wonderful planet. And this is the first time we saw ourselves from outside. This was the first time that somebody went around the moon, and I think it was in the 4th turn that the Earth was coming. And this picture was massively instrumental for the whole environmental movement. And somebody even say that the US Environmental Protection Agency, which is now in the hands of a negationist, by the way, was created in 1970 because of this picture. So the power of perception, of looking with new eyes, of seeing this beautiful blue planet in the middle of the universe, in a black hole, was so powerful, and it's so beautiful. And every time I see it, I'm amazed. And you see also the surface of the moon. So from the forests to the moon. And then another way to look at it is in a very crowded slide. You will be, brace yourself for this slide, but I love it because I love prehistory. You know, planet Earth is 4.6 billion years old. There are so many zeros that we find it difficult to grasp how long is this. That's why one way to try and grasp this time is by putting the story of the Earth in a year. So if the Earth started on the 1st of January, I mean, there are many things that happen. For instance, the moon arrived something like mid-January, but life arrived at the end of March, the first bacteria. And that was it for some time. There were a few boring billions where nothing much happened, you know. And you have to wait until the end of November with the Cambrian explosion, where most of fish, crustaceans, mollusks appear in the planet. I think it's 540 million years ago. And then our grandparents, the reptiles, and I remind you that our brain, the most primitive part of our brain is the same one that they had, and our jaws come from the bones in our ears come from the jaws of these reptiles. They appeared in early December, and our grandmother on the top right, that is the mammals, we were a bit of a rat, not beautiful, appeared in mid-December. And the whole story of humanity can be told in the last 8 hours of the year. So on the 31st of December at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, after a good siesta, Lucy, the grandmother, the Australopithecus, appeared in Eastern Africa. And then ourselves, our species, Homo sapiens sapiens, and sometimes I think we should be called Homo sapiens nexus, we appeared at half an hour before the end of the year at 2330, so around 250,000 years ago. Farming, we were hunter-gatherers for most of the time, for 200,000 years, we were hunter-gatherers and nomadic. And only 1 minute and 15 seconds ago, we invented agriculture. And 2 seconds ago, we invented an industry, the Industrial Revolution. So that puts a bit of perspective, first of all, on how recent we are. And it also helps us understand that we are humans, but we are also apes. And very often in the morning, when I look at the mirror, I realize that very, very clearly. We are also mammals. We are also reptiles. We are also fish. We were also bacteria. And if you bring it back to the Big Bang 14 billion years ago, we were hydrogen. And one wonders how we became what we are from hydrogen. So that's looking at ourselves from the past. And there is a beautiful thing, which is a deep time walk in Schumacher College. They are very good at that, where you walk for 4 kilometers and 600 meters doing this. And then we can also look at the reality from the future. And you know, there is this quote, again, and I don't know who said it, but he or she was a very clever person, saying, we don't inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children. And in their wisdom, most of the indigenous cultures, and this is the Iroquois in Northern America, they had practices looking at the impact of every major decision on 7 generations later. And that is amazing. Think of ourselves nowadays, our politicians who only think of being reelected 4 years later. Think making decisions thinking of the impact 200 years later. I mean, more or less 7 generations is around 200 years. So think or go to 2220 and imagine those people 200 years from now looking into what was happening on Earth now, what people were feeling, how some people were active as yourselves, and how some people were having an impact. And yes, if you can try to feel the gratitude of those generations if we manage to avoid the worst now. Yeah. So I want to propose now 2 things. Can you please reconnect with those woods, those coral reefs, those beaches, those lagoons that you visualized at the beginning of this exercise today? Go there for a moment, closing your eyes. And you chose that place because it's a place that you loved. You know that that place also loves you. And that is something which sometimes is more difficult to feel, you know. Feel the love that that place has for you. Sounds very hippie, but yeah. And then I'll stop sharing the screen here. And I think together with Laura, we are going to do something in the next 3 minutes. So sometimes in our life, we manage to shift the perception. The Germans call this an aha-erlebnis, you know, an aha experience, you know, suddenly you manage to see things differently, and wow, that very often determines follow-up behavior. Laura, can you share if you had any aha moment in your life, and then I'll ask the rest of the people if they want to share, maybe in the chat.
Yeah, for sure. I can share one of my aha moments, which was in New Zealand, because I went there for a trip, and I was very lucky. I was walking barefoot for months in the forest and the beaches, and it was one of the most important moments in my life when I really realized the connection that I had. Probably one of the first intense ones. So if I can tell one, that will be one of my aha moments.
If nobody, I mean, well, I'll leave you some time to think. I'll share one. I've always been very passionate of prehistory, as you saw with the enthusiasm that I was showing that picture. And I remember when I was something like 15 in school, in religion, we had religion, and there was this priest telling us about, going to paradise after death, and the afterlife, and some people deserved going to paradise. And I asked the priest who's entitled to this paradise, and he said, of course, it's only human souls. And in my innocence and naivety, and as I was very much into human evolution, I dared asking this poor Jesuit, okay, and at what moment of evolution you gain the ticket to get to paradise? I mean, will we find Neanderthals there? Will we find Australopithecus? We will find chimpanzees, pigs, etc., etc. And by saying this, I realized that I was onto something there. That was quite a change of paradigm, At one moment, when was the Father didn't go to heaven and the Son did in the evolution? When did we get soul? We have somebody saying that one very strong experience, which I felt very powerful, was the presence of my own existence when I was 21. Amy. Anybody wants to share anything more? Otherwise, time-wise, we're doing well. Okay, no pressure there. So I think it's back to you, Laura.
Yeah, maybe we can leave some time if somebody else wants to share. A few seconds there. If somebody else. Giving birth.
Of course.
Of course. What an aha moment to connect with life and universe, I suppose. Assisting the giving of birth. Yeah, of course, yeah. Tommy, wow. When I took plant medicines, mushrooms in Australia, yeah, and realized how life is so interconnected, yeah, of course, as well. Thanks. Yeah, well, Tommy is saying that as he cannot give birth, he was very connected, assisting.
Nothing is impossible, Tommy. Try harder.
Well, Cecile is sharing with us, looking at the stars when I was 12, and I realizing how small we are. Thanks, Cecile. That place I feel and love, meat, smell, cold water, beauty, purity. Oh,
noise of waves and feel feet sunshine in all my nature. Wow, beautiful, Paolo.
Cool. And Aaron is saying, a moment when I was very young, was observing all the systemic manipulation going on in the schools, war, and organizations around me, and the complex systems we get pushed into without guidance or knowledge. Yeah, we have had lots of conversation about this. Thanks, Aaron, for sharing. Pedro says, realizing how elusive is this idea of a separate self this year on a retreat.
You tell me which retreats, because I'm still struggling with that one.
Cool, yeah. Thanks to these aha moments that really make us to take a turn in our paths and connect much more with ourselves, with natural world, with, yeah, very inspiring. Thanks very, very much for sharing them. And well, we're gonna go to the next step, to the next and final step, this going forth. And well, this is time now in this last step to digest all these paths that we have crossed, and to digest it and say, okay, after practicing gratitude, after feeling all that pain, and now after realizing of the interconnections that we all have with life, with other humans, with the universe, with the planet, with everything. Okay, this is very moving. But if I have to bring it back to my own life, what I'm gonna do with all this beautiful hippie experience that we have been sharing? And this is the step to bring that to our own lives. And this is the moment to find which actions we are gonna start bringing to our lives. And this is maybe what are we gonna do as maybe become vegan, or what are we not gonna do anymore? Like, for example, not taking a plane, not flying. So this is about what we want to do and what we want to stop doing, but this is as well about what we want to be and who we are gonna be, what is the part that we are gonna take in this mission that we have as humanity. What is the one that me, as Laura, what is the one that I'm gonna take? And this is the step to find into ourselves what is our own gifts and what are the presents or the service that we can offer to life. So, Nando, I'm gonna give you the floor to tell us a bit more about this.
Okay, so this is the last stage, and we have 10 more minutes, and that will be over. So let's go for the fourth stage of the spiral. And again, I don't know why this happens every time. Yeah. So, and I mean, I told you at the beginning that when facing the systemic crisis, there is the outer path, which is activism, and the inner path, so the to-do list or the to-be list. We've been exploring the to-be list, and now gradually we are going to transition again to the to-do list, because it's not enough to do this work internally. I mean, we need to manifest ourselves in the outer world. And for that, there are many ways to go about it. And one that I wanted to share with you, and some of you might be familiar with it, is the approach that deep adaptation has taken to reality. You know, many people, you know, deep adaptation in 2 words is a movement which started in July 2018 with a very tough assertion, basically that short-term collapse is now inevitable, and that catastrophe is very probable, and that human extinction is very possible. So it's quite a contention to say, and many people are against deep adaptation because they say that this tends to lead to depression and passivity, etc., which is not at all the case. I'm very active in deep adaptation, and I tell you, most people in deep adaptation are also in extinction rebellion, in transition, are active in so many other things that it is not proved that by simply discussing collapse, you go depressed and passive. And one of the framework, so the main framework that deep adaptation proposes for this action is this one, which is simply open a space and put yourself 4 questions. The first one is very important, which is resilience. You know, what do we most value today that we want to keep during and after collapse, if this happens, and how? And ideas that I've had in previous workshops include, okay, we want to keep music, for instance, we want to keep meditation, storytelling, deep listening, I mean, and of course, food, water, shelter, etc. That is, of course. The second kind of idea for the discussion is, what could we relinquish? What could we let go of so as not to make things worse? And of course, latest technology is one of them. Flying is one, meat is one, plastics, I mean, you name it, you know, or the myth of progress, you know, thinking that we can grow even green with a green color forever and ever and ever in a finite planet. I mean, we might relinquish that idea. A third idea, or a third area for exploration, is restoration. What could we bring back to help us with these difficult times? You know, bring back many things that we've lost over the last decades. You know, I remember in Spain, when I was in northern Spain, when I was a child, I mean, people used to talk to their neighbors, and people used to play cards and domino, etc., etc. You know, people used to walk. There were many fewer cars. You know, low-tech solutions, indigenous wisdom. You know, we were discussing yesterday about the indigenous wisdom in Europe. You know, I mean, in Latin America is still present. In Europe, you know, what do we know about the Celts? Very little. Reforestation. And the fourth one is reconciliation, which for me is a very important one, and it's a crucial one. You know, with what and whom shall we make peace as we awaken to our own mortality? You know, what are the things that we've been avoiding to confront for too long? You know, things like death, things like you know, the black side, the shadow that Jung could say. You know. And for these rites of passage, celebrations of movements of passage, grief work, death cafes, I've participated in a couple of ones, and I want to launch them in Spain. Forgiving, these are good ideas. So I give you a spectrum of possible things, and what we would like is for you to think about that for a moment, and using Mentimeter for a last time, tell us whether you're ready to commit to one thing that you want to keep, let go, bring back, or make peace with. Again, Laura shares the link, and I think in the chat you have also the redefinition of those 4 R's, you know, which I mentioned before. So resilience, relinquishment, restoration, and reconciliation. Those of you who want to take a commitment with yourselves, you know, but it's an opportunity for you to say, to reassert a commitment maybe that you're already doing, or introduce a new one. Please, this is the moment. Those who want to use the chat can do it. Yeah. And we have a first one, which I think is so important: meditation, mindfulness, finding time, inner wisdom, live with less, yeah, resistance, nature, coming up very beautifully. Reconcile with death, joy,
change,
yeah, I find difficult to, yeah, beautiful. Live with less, yeah, there is elegant simplicity. Satish Kumar from Schumacher has just published this book, Elegant Simplicity. Plant-based diet, yes, I am all for that. Yoga, yeah, absolutely. So we have 11 contributions, 12 now, and the latest one is minimizing needs. Community, definitely, crucial one for resilience. The most important one probably in resilience. Yeah, the next one, accept less comfort. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Non-violent communication is what Adam is sharing with us in the chat.
Oh yes, definitely.
Very good tool.
Yeah. wow, this goes fast, and I find it difficult to know what the new ones are.
Believe, I think that we didn't say the one. Yeah. Believe, hope, storytelling.
Yes, believe, hope, storytelling, make wise choices. Beautiful.
Cool.
Beautiful. Cool. Yeah. So, yeah. I can only thank you so much for this, and it's a beautiful one. We'll share this with you. So thank you for that, and I'll pass it on to Laura again to finish.
Well, yes, just a few words to say thank you very much. Thanks very, very much. Nando, will we see our faces after this? Thank you.
Yes.
I really would love to be back to see,
there you are.
To see each other. So just say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for sharing with us this time, and to leave that word cloud so inspired that we have created all together. And just to recall what we did today in this hour, that we were practicing gratitude at the beginning. We were bringing to our memories a beautiful and magical place that was important for us. And after that beautiful practice, we went into a bit of pain, and we were facing and feeling our pain for the world. For afterwards, keep going and actually seeing with new eyes and realizing of the interconnections that we have, and to see that how important the aha moments that we have in life, and that can bring new change in our lives, and finishing with that word cloud of very, very inspiring proposals. So thank you. Thank you. It was a pleasure to be here with you, and I'm gonna give the floor to Juan to close this activity today. Thank you.
After exactly 70 minutes. Thank
you. Thank you. Juan, it's up to you.
Juan, over to you, Juan.
Thank you, Nanda and Laura. Wow. Thank you so much for your workshop. I think you did it incredibly well. Unfortunately, we will not have like a proper time now, like really like to imagine that we would be in person, no? Around the fire maybe, or all together, and we could just make a circle and have a proper debrief and some time of quality to really share with each other how has been this experience for us, no? So my proposal before we go to the last closing is, if we can close our eyes for a second, and we can try to, please don't fall asleep yet, and we can just try to recap the journey that we have taken during these 70 minutes, and try to think on something that you take from this little journey. Maybe a word, maybe something that you felt. Try to identify something that it has been inspiring or that has touched you, something that you take from this session here all together. And let's try to think on that, to smell it, to taste it, to touch it, to think about that concrete thing that you're taking it. And slowly, when you're ready, I invite you to open your eyes again. And I would like, for the very last time of this session, to invite you to put that word or that thing that you take from this workshop in the chat, to share it with the rest. And you can see how everything different things that are shared there. You can read them: hope and love, or in our pain, synchronicity, reconnect, many different feelings, many different sensations. Thank you for that. So with these words, we're arriving to the end of the session. But before that, I need to to share with you a few little informations that I think are needed, are important for the continuation of this process, of these online sessions that we are having in the Municipalities and Transition Community of Practice. And while you continue putting these words there, I would like to share with you that we have 2 more sessions before Christmas on different topics, in different areas. We are quite eclectic, let's say. We touch many different interesting topics. And we have one, the 2nd of December, that is going to be about communities of practice. So it's going to be a session where different communities of practice are going to come together and explain what they do, how they work, and invite you to participate in that. And we will have another session, the 10th of December, what we call a virtual cafe open discussion. And this one is going to be about how to present ideas to your municipality. In all of them, we will have special guests. For example, in the one in the 10th of December, we will have Lara Freitas from a municipality in Sao Paulo that is part of the project. And in the one on communities of practice, we will work together with the people from different communities of practice on Ecolisa, that is a European network on climate change. We will share the recording of this session that will be shared on our networks, social networks, and on the website. So if you want to look at it, if you want to share it, and Pedro Macedo is sharing their information on the chat too. I share here the link to all of you, if you want to have it. Okay. And Luis, I don't know if I'm forgetting something before we open the mics for everyone. I don't know if there's something else you want to add.
Sorry, Juan, I have my computer completely blank. I don't see you. I think.
Okay,
do you hear me?
worry,
Yeah, okay. But I'm sending Pedro the links. I can do that. I'll just send the link if people want to subscribe to the Municipalities in Transition newsletter. There's a link that I'll ask Pedro to paste there, so you can keep up with all the news, all the webinars, all that is going on with the project. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm just gonna. So Pedro is gonna put it there, isn't it?
Yes, I already shared.
Okay, perfect, Pedro. Thank you so much. So welcome to the community. I hope you have enjoyed a lot, and I'm gonna finally invite you to open your mics, all of you. I know in this specific workshop we didn't have like much time to speak, all of us together. It depends. Every session is different, but at least let's open our mics now and let's say goodbye with, or see you soon with a word, in our language if we want, because this is very diverse. We use English for a question of understanding each other, but here we have a lot of diversity, people from so many different countries. So come on, let's do it. And thank you so much for joining.
Muito amor para todos.
Un abrazo súper grande a todos.
Mucho amor y muchos abrazos.
Grazie. Ciao a tutti.
Muchas gracias.
Olha.
Merci beaucoup.
Gracias.
Hasta la próxima.
Let's keep in touch, and please let's join the newsletter if you want to be in touch.
Pedro, tack så mycket.
Okay, bye.
Gracias.
Gracias.
Okay.